online and one-on-one coaching. Mr. USA 2001, Quincy Taylor. 4 times Mr. Olympia athlete. Show preparation and general fitness. 30 years of experience. Bring out your monster. myteqt1@gmail.com. @quincy.monster.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body, and that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our 3rd year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Whatever's on your mind, diet, training, supplementation, news about bodybuilding, whatever in or outside of bodybuilding is on your mind, it is all on the tables. We now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, we just had a very special birthday, I believe, yesterday. And I know you wish him, I know he wished you and your wife back for a belated birthday. So if you want to reveal whose birthday it was a very momentous occasion in and around the bodybuilding world as far as luminaries are concerned.
No, we're not talking about Dorian Yates. We're not talking about Ronnie Coleman. We're talking about Big Lenny. It was Big Lenny's birthday. And he was in the hospital the other day. So I wanted to wish him, prayers and speedy recovery for what he was going through over there. And, he's running through some hard times. And, we got to support our brothers in iron during those hard times. So Big Lenny, get better. Have a great birthday.
Happy birthday, Big Lenny. Dave, I understand Species Nutrition is also in some murky waters right now. I understand there is an investor looking to stage what would be a hostile takeover of the company. He actually tweeted it just a short while ago. Tyler, I know you have it. An interesting salvo fired by him that not only would he seek to aim to take over a species, but then bring back one of the vintage products.
Yeah, I said, look, I threw a number out there. He said, show me the number. I typed it on my Apple, I held it up, and he said, let's do it. Do you want to know what that number is? What my number was?
Yeah, sure.
The number was 5 billion. That was my evaluation. He said, sounds fair to me. I said, bring back cherry vanilla isolate. Do your thing. So Elon Musk will be running Species Nutrition now, along with Twitter. And
so there's a chance that I'm going to be hosting Ask Elon by next week. So there you have it. Let's get to the questions, of course, on this show. The first 2 questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, my doctor's offering me CJC 1295 and Ipamorelin. Do you think I can benefit at this time using CJC/Ipamorelin? He doesn't really offer any sort of background information, but based off what you know as far as comparison between the 2 products.
Hormone replacement clinics, and some of these do not fit this category, but everyone wants to open a hormone replacement clinic nowadays because, number one, it's profitable. Number 2, it's cash pay. Okay, no one's doing insurance. And a lot of these companies, these people, the owners of the companies, they go and take a course for a weekend someplace on longevity medicine, and then they hire some random doctor who's, sometimes they're like, they can't get a job, and they hire them to do the prescriptions, and then they just, protocol everything out. Luckily, our good friends at Titan Medicals don't do that. They've been around for quite some time. They are very knowledgeable, and that's why I feel very comfortable sending people over to TitanMedicalCenter.com. But, Ipamorelin, CJC, 1295, Hexarelin, GHRP6 and 2, and there's a whole bunch of different what we call growth hormone releasing peptides. They all pretty much do the same thing. They stimulate the pituitary gland to release GH. And it's a very I think, attractive product for these hormone replacement clinics to sell because GH is very expensive. We know that. So most people don't want to pay the price of pharmacy growth hormone. And this growth hormone releasing peptide stuff is really cheap for them to buy. And they can still charge a respectable amount of money for it, but it's a lot cheaper than GH. So people seem to be more attracted to it because they don't want to spend thousands and thousands. Bodybuilders are a different breed. We'll spend anything on drugs that work. But for the average person who wants to just get a little growth hormone boost, these are attractive, peptides to use. Do they work? Yeah, but the problem is with them, and it's not really a problem, is that some people respond better than others. It's like some people take HCG and they get a really high testosterone level from it. Other people take it and they don't really get much of a boost. So for me to say, this is not good or good, it really depends on you trying it out. And like I said, it's not that expensive where, you're going to have to worry, I'm going to break the bank doing it. Give it a shot. Can't hurt. Increasing a little bit of natural growth hormone release can only, help the situation out. But you have to understand that some of these peptides, some of these different versions of the GH releasing peptides can do other things too. They can have other side effects. Some people get a little nauseous from them. Some people get an increased appetite from them. Some people can even get a little blood pressure spike sometimes from it. So you got to just, you got to try it out, see how you like it. And if it works well for you and you feel like your growth hormone levels are higher and you're going for blood work, maybe your IGF levels are higher, then hey, use it. I'm in 100%, support of that. I personally like to use regular growth hormone because when you take an IU of GH, you're getting an IU of GH. When you take, 400 micrograms of CJC, you don't really know how much GH your body's going to release. So there's a little bit of an unknown factor there.
Second question, again, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I'm 47, been training and eating right now for over 25 years. I'm in good shape. However, I feel like I have a slight case of gyno. Not a competitor, so don't want to spend money on surgery. What are some natural things that can be done to help? Because there's more push-ups, heavy benching, low carbs, testolize.
You could obviously inhibit some estrogen production in the body. If you're not on any kind of HRT or a cycle, then I probably wouldn't use like a Arimidex or a Romacin or a Femara. It's a little strong. You could definitely try testolize, 3 pills twice a day. That will definitely get rid of some of that estrogen. Once you have glandular tissue growing here, and remember, just like some women have big breasts, some women have small ones, same thing with men. Some men have more tissue here than others. And when it gets activated in any capacity, even naturally, it can be annoying and it's not going away. You can get it to shrink up a little bit by reducing estrogen, but the tissue will still be there. That's why pretty much every bodybuilder at the top level will eventually get the gynecomastia removed because it just looks cosmetically better. So if it's a cosmetic thing and you just want to, have a nice shaped lower chest, you should just get it taken out. If it's not such a big deal, then they sell these creams and they don't do anything. Okay, you need to reduce estrogen a little bit. I would go and get my blood work test. I would get my testosterone, my estrogen, and my prolactin levels checked, DHT2. Elevated prolactin can cause problems there as well. There's cabergoline that can be used to inhibit that. But like I said, if you're not on a big cycle, you really shouldn't have that kind of issue. If it's just like annoying from a cosmetic standpoint, you're not going to do push-ups or certain exercises that's going to get rid of that, unfortunately. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm a very vain person. So as soon as I had gyno pop up, I got it taken out immediately. And obviously Dr. Blau in White Plains, New York, he is the #1 guy in the world doing that. And I just had 3 people that I sent to him recently, and they all had very good results. So that's something, that's a personal decision if you want to spend the money or you don't want to spend the money on it. And some people see cosmetic surgeries or cosmetic improvements to their body as something that it's worth doing because mentally they feel better about the way they look. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's a personal decision. One more thing I want to just mention. Obviously, these questions were from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. This is an app that I have on Android and Apple stores. You can download it. It's $29 a month. Get me as your coach, basically in your pocket. I answer all your questions in a public forum so everyone sees the questions and answers. I do a Q&A video every week. We put a workout of the week up every week. And all my writings and videos that I've ever done are compiled in like a library in that one app. So that's really nice. Also, I have my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course coming up on the 7th of May. And that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can sign up at the link at davepalumbo.com. If you want to learn how to write diets, you want to understand the science behind the diets, we're talking about knowledge here. We're talking about being a good coach, an informed coach, or even just being informed about what you're doing to yourself. Supplementation, what supplements are good, which ones are not, are waste of money, how they, work in the body. Obviously, PEDs, steroids, growth hormone, insulin, all those things, how to use these things responsibly and correctly to extract the best results possible, detoxification, site injection. I go over everything, basically. It's 5 years worth of information in one day. And the great thing about the online course that I'm doing now is that you can go back and rewatch it as many times as you want. So you can sign up for that at the link at davepalumbo.com, and that's once again on May 7th.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us on Instagram, the handle is official_RxMuscle. If you're not already following us here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. That helps. And as always, we appreciate your support throughout the course of the year. This first question is about, I guess it's sort of it piggybacks off your rant from the other day about Deca, where you're talking specifically about the anti-inflammatory properties of Deca Durabolin. It's from Alexander B. Carlson. Would it be possible to give Deca to a 70-year-old woman for anti-inflammatory purposes? If so, what dosages would you recommend? And I guess I'll add to that, for really anyone looking to take Deca specifically for the anti-inflammatory what would be your protocol in that regard?
I was giving it to my dad. I would give my dad hormone replacement shots of testosterone, and then he was in tremendous pain. He had a lot of spinal arthritis, so I started doing half and half with him. Like I would give him anywhere from 50 to 100 milligrams of testosterone a week or every 10 days, and I would also give him 100 milligrams of Deca with that, and that seemed to work. It wasn't curing his arthritis, obviously, but it was taking away some of the inflammation around the nerves coming out of his spinal cord, which was reducing some of his pain. He wasn't doing it for workout purposes, although he was walking better, I noticed on it too. So I think it was having a slight muscle building effect on him just from moving around. For a woman, obviously, you wouldn't want to get, you got to be careful of the side effects of Deca because there is some androgenizing side effects if you give them too much. So probably 50 milligrams per week. I would try that and see how that works. If she's tolerating it well and she's not getting any kind of unsavory side effects, from it, which she really shouldn't, but you never know. Some people are really sensitive. That would work well, but that's something you have to consider with a woman. Now, a woman who's that old might not even matter to her. She might not even care. She might just feel so much better that she might deal with a little bit of side effects. And I don't even know if she would get any side effects, to be honest with you. Once again, 50 milligrams is low. It's funny that the muscle building effects of Deca require a much higher dosage. The anti-inflammatory dosages are much lower. So you can get a nice anti-inflammation effect from 50 milligrams, especially on a frail older woman. So give it a shot.
Let's go to Iron Addy. How do you deal with lethargy while on a bulk cycle?
People ask me that all the time. I have my clients and they're like, complaining, that they have no energy. And I'm like, what do you expect? You gained 30 pounds the last 6 weeks, Obviously, probably 15 of it was water. But still, when you add a lot of weight to your body, you're carrying around now that extra weight all day long. And I didn't realize this. When I hit about 300 pounds the first time, because I wasn't used to it, obviously, I never weighed that much, I felt exhausted. By the end, I couldn't wait. I would wake up in the morning and eat my breakfast and go out, to the gym. I'm like, I can't wait to go home and to go to sleep at night. Not only because I wanted to grow, obviously, but because I was so tired from just walking around all day with all this extra weight. Then when I would start dieting and I would drop, 20, 30 pounds, all of a sudden it was like I felt like I was light as a feather after that. So it is normal. And what could you do? I mean, you could do a pre-workout. You could do a little caffeine. I wouldn't overdo it, obviously. You don't want to blow your blood pressure through the roof. But I will say this, that if you use caffeine sparingly, meaning you're not using it all day long, you can use a smaller dose and get a good result. If you use like Stimulants once a day and sip it over like the course of an hour, it's going to help you get through your workout. It's going to help you, stay alert and feel good, but it's not going to jack your blood pressure through the roof. Now, if you combine a pre-workout like Somalyze with an energy drink and a cup of coffee, now you're overstimulating your body, and you might actually raise cortisol levels because you're stressing your body out. So you don't want to do that. You got to find the fine line between it, and just understand that when you are bulking up and putting on size, it's going to be uncomfortable because you're going to feel tired all the time. You're not going to want to be running around. But you know what? That's good. I always tell people when you're in the off season, rest as much as possible, because rest is your best friend. That's when your body builds muscle. Look at a baby. Babies eat, they sleep. They eat, they sleep, they eat, they sleep, they eat, they sleep, because their bodies are growing while they're sleeping, and their bodies are demanding that they get more sleep. So if you got to take a nap in your car, I was famous for that. I would literally go in my car, recline the seat, put the radio on, and I would let it run with the air conditioning on. If it was the summer, if it was the winter, I'd have the heat on, and I would just literally snooze out for 20, 30 minutes, and I was like a power nap for me, and I felt like I actually recovered better from my workouts after that.
Daniel Donovan, the best stance to develop quad sweep.
You intuitively you would think that if you have a narrow stance that you would get more sweep to the quads. I never experienced that. I just got a lot of knee pain when I would do that. But when I opened up my stance, okay, even though the open stance employs more glute and adductor, which is the inner thighs, you still, because you have a much better range of motion when your legs are wider apart, you can go down deeper into the hole. You're activating a lot more quad too, because now the range of motion is increased. Think about it. If you feed it together, you can't go down that far because your calves hit your hamstrings in the back there, and there's no room. But when you open the stance up, now you can open your knees up a little bit, and it allows you to go lower. So when your range of motion is greater, you're going to activate more of the muscles of your legs. That includes the hamstrings, it includes the adductors, glutes, and actually quads. So to me, wide stance, wider than shoulder width squats, below parallel, good range of motion is the way to get best quad sweep.
Goan Zoldik, what's with the extensive amounts of Clomid in these PCT protocols that are floating around forum? 300 mg Clomid is ridiculous. Yeah. Can you comment on that?
I agree. I usually tell people 50 to 100 the most. Clomid will kill your sex drive. When I give out my pregnancy protocol, when I was doing my first was experimenting with the pregnancy protocol, I would do like anywhere from 50 to 100 milligrams of Clomid a day. In that dosage, I kind of felt similar, but I think you can almost get away with 50 milligrams per day. If you start going over 100, it's like you don't. It's not that you can't function; it's that you don't feel like having sex. It just kind of. And I don't know if that's because Clomid is an estrogen, analog, so it's kind of made from estrogen. So maybe it's, blunting the male sex drive or the desire to have sex. So I would keep it around 50 to 100 milligrams max.
Iron Berserker, how do you best control blood pressure while on cycle?
Well, if your blood pressure is going high because you're on cycle, then you should take a blood pressure medication. That's the easiest thing to do. You're not going to walk around. You're not going to take diuretics. You're not going to walk around dehydrated. You're not going to restrict carbs just so your blood pressure is lower. So just take one. Ramipril, lisinopril. The ACE inhibitors are the most. They've been around the longest, and I think they're the least side effects associated with them. The angiotensin receptor blockers like telmisartan and valsartan and some of those, which are newer drugs, they're now finding that they're linking them to cancers, long-term use. So I would just stick with the ACE inhibitors. They have some really good data on them. They're, like I said, they've been around a long time. There's really not many side effects to them whatsoever. I don't have any of them. I've been taking Ramipril probably for 25 years now. So it's a safety net. It's just protecting. I mean, no one has a problem taking Arimidex to lower their estrogen levels. Why wouldn't you take a blood pressure medication to keep your blood pressure normal so that you protect your kidneys? And when you think of it from that perspective, right, it makes logical sense. Bodybuilders will take everything to negate something else, right? They'll take cabergoline to block prolactin. They'll take Arimidex to block estrogen. You know, there's a million things to counteract this or counteract that, and then they hear blood pressure, they think it's like, all of a sudden they think they're handicapping themselves in some way. There's no negative ramifications of taking an ACE inhibitor. Now, if you take a beta blocker, that wouldn't be necessarily a good thing because that slows your heart down, and it would make it, you wouldn't be able to take clenbuterol with it because it's contraindicated because they do the opposite. Obviously, calcium channel blockers, which is another blood pressure medication, a class of blood pressure medications, not really good either because bodybuilders, calcium is important to muscle contraction. Sometimes guys get, fluid in their legs if they use the calcium channel blockers. ACE inhibitors are the best.
Live for pump. I work out in the evening and use pre-workouts with stimulants. I would like to use Somalyze before bed, but should it not be used too close to having taken other supplements like a pre-workout or other supplements, vitamins, minerals, etc.?
Right. Well, I certainly wouldn't take a pre-workout very close to bedtime unless you're completely immune to stimulants, because it's going to that will definitely make it hard to fall asleep. But assuming you don't, it's not that close. This is, when I hear my routine, my routine is I usually take my second dose of my vitamins with dinner, probably around, 8:30, whenever we finish. Then I go upstairs with the kids. We put them to sleep. I'll watch a little, what were we just saying? We fail? What's that show? Yeah. I watch a little TV.
Great show, by the way.
Yeah, very good. And then I come downstairs, and then I'll take my my second dose of like my ACE inhibitor blood pressure med, Ramipril, and I'll take the Somalyze actually at the same time. I'll take 3 pills of that. And then I go and I'll finish like a couple of emails, like real quick, take a shower, and then I'll come out and I'll take my Fibrilize before bed and I'll go to sleep. So it's absolutely fine to take, Somalyze. I've actually taken Somalyze with all my vitamins and with the Fibrilize. It gets in. Those ingredients in that particular product don't have any kind of nothing's going to block the absorption of them. Now, it's interesting that they pulled, Somalyze is not on Amazon.com anymore because they don't like the fact that I'm selling a sleep product that actually promises that you can go to sleep from it. So Amazon's got this new crazy policy. You can't make any claims. But if you're selling a product that helps you go to sleep, how can you not say that it helps you go to sleep? How am I going to sell it, right? So if you guys want Somalyze, you're going to have to get it from speciesnutrition.com. You could use Lee Priest's code PRIEST25 and get 25% off if you want to do that. But you know what? I think I told you this, Sid. When I got COVID, I started taking Somalyze again because I wanted to increase my melatonin. Yes. Because melatonin is one of the things that COVID depletes, and it really helps, kind of combat it. And I forgot how good it was because I had stopped taking Somalyze because I have no trouble falling asleep since I've had my young kids because I'm always exhausted. But I didn't realize I really wasn't getting a good quality of sleep. And when I put Somalyze back into my regimen, probably the last 2 months, the quality of sleep I get, it doesn't even matter if I only sleep 6 hours or 5 hours. I feel so well rested when I wake up, and I'm having such good dreams at night because melatonin makes you go into a very deep dream state that I'm telling you, if you have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or if you have poor quality sleep, try this product. I promise you will tell me it's great. Just don't get freaked out when you first take it. Sometimes you get a little tingle through your body. That's called the GABA tingle. GABA will cause this little tingling when it first hits you, and that's how you know it's going to start working. So when you feel the tingle, go to bed. Go lay in bed.
Bodybuilding and wrestling. Dave, how long should you rest in between sets? I'm around 2.5 to 3 minutes, sometimes more when training legs.
Yep. Especially
when I have to put discs on or take them off. Is that too much, or it doesn't really matter so long as you're doing your sets properly?
That's about right. I would say that's exactly what I was doing when I was lifting really heavy. Some of the sets would be 2, 3, sometimes 4 minutes, because number one, you got to catch your breath in the last set. Number two, then you got to put your knee wraps back on, your belt back on. So it doesn't. Remember, lifting weights is anaerobic. It's not an aerobic workout, so you don't have to worry about, you're waiting too long. You're not burning fat. You're not trying to burn fat. You're trying to lift heavy weights to damage the muscle so that the muscle will grow back better and stronger, right, and bigger. That's the goal. The only negative ramification to waiting too long, and this happened to me once or twice where I would actually get a phone call or something like that. I'm on the phone. I'm in the middle of training legs, and then I come back. It's been like 7 minutes, and I'm completely cooled down now. My muscles are starting to get tight. It's like I have to go through another warm-up to kind of get back into the groove, and you just never get back in the groove after that. I should have just gone home probably because you can wind up hurting yourself. So don't wait too long that you get cold, but wait long enough till you catch your breath and you feel ready to give a maximum effort again.
I'm going to save this one till later. Get strong and big. How would you usually do your own carb ups for your last week before your shows?
Yeah, I used to do like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday carb ups, or if I was going to compete on Friday, I would do a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 3 days usually was pretty good for me to fill up. And I clean carbs usually, for most of the time. But you got to remember, toward the end of my career, I was so lean all the time. I always ate a McDonald's double or triple cheeseburger, meal with fries for at least one meal a day. The rest was all clean. It would be like chicken breast and rice and white rice. I probably would eat about 250 to 350 grams of carbs when I was carbing up, because I didn't want to get that. Sometimes guys go crazy with the carbs, and then you get, your stomach gets all bloated, you get gassy from it. So I would never let myself get too depleted out, because I was always so lean anyway, and so I didn't really need that much. Think about it. If I'm eating like almost like a burger and fries almost every day, anyway, even though I'm eating low carb the rest of the meals, I'm not really in a crazy depleted state. So I judge how many grams of carbs to give other people based on how their bodies respond to the carbs. Some people, I know guys, I can give them 2 carb meals, they're ready to go. Women, same thing. And then I know other guys that I feed them carbs and their metabolism speed up so fast that the stuff it's not even getting absorbed into their body. And those people I usually have to give some junk food. Usually I'll give them some burger and fries at the end of the day, just to kind of top everything off, to kind of feed that metabolism a little bit. Because if your metabolism goes crazy, you could eat everything in sight and you will still be flat on stage. And you'll be like, I don't know how this happened. Well, because the act of eating is actually stimulating your metabolic rate. So sometimes the clean carbs, rice and potatoes, it just won't fill you up because your body's using them too quickly. If you start putting denser foods in there, that sometimes can slow down the metabolism.
We do get this question somewhat fairly often, but again, with new audiences, it's good to put in a refresher about this from Benjamin Hamza. Avoiding water retention on long flights. And I mean, if you want to throw in what you should do, obviously there's the Kevin Lebroni method as well. What would you generally, advise as far as your clients are concerned?
It's not that you really hold water from flights, because you really should lose fluid on a flight, because when you're up at high altitude, fluid leaves your body more easily. What happens is that the fluid changes where it is. It leaves the muscle sometimes and can go under the skin, especially if you're sitting like Kevin pointed out, for a long period of time in one area. Moving around definitely helps. Wearing pressure stockings, like those stockings that go up to your knees to keep the fluid out of your ankles, helps a lot. You could drink, I eat and drink normally on the plane. Obviously you don't want it, because you do get very dehydrated. If you notice your mouth gets really dry, and that's because the fluids are just leaving your body. But the reason why you look soft when you get off the plane is not because you're holding more water, is because the water just it's changed places where it's from. And that's why it's good to go to a show a couple days before if you're taking a long flight, because it will take 2-3 days sometimes just to put that water back into the right places. There's really no tricks. You really don't want to take too many diuretics on a plane if you could avoid it, because, like I said, you're getting dehydrated on the plane already. It's not, the water in the ankles is not due to water retention. It's due to the fact that the water is just leaving the muscle cells. So that's a big mistake. A lot of people over diuretic on an airplane, and then they get there and they're flat as can be and they cannot fill up. So don't get caught in that trap.
Let's go to Sufyan 77. Dave has mentioned for his fertility protocol in the past, but what should optimal levels of HCG and LH be in blood work, considering no testosterone is being used, with only 3,000 IU per week? It says he was able to use a superphysiological level. How long should this be maintained before trying to conceive?
Look, I don't know what your FSH and LH levels would be on blood work. All I know is that the protocol that I developed works, and it almost works 100% of the time. Now, there's always, granted, 1 or 2 people that have some other issues. So in other words, sometimes it's not the guy's fault, it's the woman's fault. She has a tipped, her fallopian tube is blocked a little bit, or there's something else going on there that's not working. But to get men's, sperm cells, number one, up to the right number, the right morphology, meaning they're shaped properly, and the right motility, meaning they can swim properly, the protocol works. And I give it out all the time for free. We got to just contact me. I'll give it to you. I probably am responsible for more kids being born than anyone else. But the protocol is basically 2,000 IUs of HCG every other day, like 3 times a week. 75 IUs of HMG, which mimics the hormone FSH, that's the magic. The magic is the FSH. And sometimes you can just buy synthetic FSH. That's available now as well. It's the same thing. That's what directly stimulates the testicles to produce sperm cells. Okay. Clomid is good because it blocks the estrogen receptors in the hypothalamus, which allows the hypothalamus to tell the pituitary to tell the testicles produce sperm and testosterone. So Clomid helps, but the magic is the HMG. The HCG only mildly stimulates sperm cells to produce sperm. What it does is it indirectly, influences them by telling the testicles, the Leydig cells of the testicles, to produce testosterone. And when the testosterone is produced down there in your testicles, that bathes those testicles and bathes the Sertoli cells, and then the Sertoli cells can produce sperm. Now, to increase motility, because a lot of guys have enough sperm cells when they do this protocol, but sometimes they don't swim well. And that can take up to 3 months of doing the protocol before they're swimming well. Injectable glutathione at 200 to 600 milligrams per day works wonders at motility. Matter of fact, it works such wonders that I have a 3rd child because of that. Because I was doing no fertility treatment, only HMG, only injectable glutathione, which I didn't even know did that. And I learned, I don't know if we call it the hard way because I'm happy that I have my 3rd daughter, but I did learn that did that. Also, taking a very high quality multivitamin, multi-mineral like V-Mineralize is going to help with the morphology, because you can have enough sperm and they can swim well, but if they're not shaped right, they're not going to be able to fertilize that egg. So those 3 components, if you take careful, aim at, and just like you're doing with your contest prep, taking the right cycles, the right supplements, the right foods, you got to do the same thing, the same mentality for trying to get, your wife or girlfriend pregnant. Get those sperm cells, number one, up the numbers, up to the right shape, and swimming properly. And if you do your job and your wife or girlfriend is healthy, you're going to have a baby.
Last questions from Michael Grapner. Dave, I'm a United States Marine, so thank you for your service. I just lost my mother this past week. How do I continue doing what I set out to do in the midst of the grief and pain I'm feeling now? So, obviously, this is something that's real life. We set a course for ourselves, but life happens. And in this case, obviously, one of the greatest losses in his life.
Sure.
In your own experience and generally what you would suggest for people, who go through that, those losses in their life, those unexpected, tragic setbacks in their life. How do they keep going? How do they keep pushing through that and still, working their way to achieve what it is that they set out to achieve?
Look, the first week, 2, 3, you might be kind of sleepwalking through your workouts and through your supplements and through your meals because nothing feels good. You just have this like hollow feeling inside of loss. But the key is to not stop, because once you stop and start feeling sorry for yourself, you get out of that groove. It's very easy to go from missing 1 week to missing a year, okay? So don't stop. Keep going, even if you have to go at half-mast, as my father would say, halfway. Just go through the motions and do it, because you know what? Eventually, you'll start to feel better. It seems like you never will, but you will. I've gone through had some tragic losses in my life as well. And sometimes, it's good to almost indulge in these other activities to take your mind off of it. I use the gym as my church, my sanctuary. When I go there, all my problems, are let go of, and I just indulge in something so pure as just training. That's like something that I just enjoy doing. And it feels good. You get that endorphin rush. You leave the gym and you're in a better mental state. If you are in a bad mental state and you don't work out, something that is your therapy essentially, you're going to feel worse because there's not going to be any release. It's going to be like the tension is going to keep building, all this emotional, pent up aggravation or, pain is going to build up inside you. You got to let it go. And if that doesn't work completely, you should also find someone to talk to. Someone like our staff therapist, Leslie Timble. You can make an appointment with her. Talk to her. Tell her all how you feel. Let her, work through it with you, because that will be a tremendous release for you as well. And it doesn't have to be her, but she does do online counseling. And I did a couple sessions with her. She's fantastic. I really, that's why I started iron therapy on our channel, because I felt that she does have good empathy for people. She has a good way to, she's a good listener, and she offers very good solutions to people's problems. So that would be my suggestion.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, the new show, Iron Therapy. We have our third episode live right now on the channel. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, do so. Hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss any of our show segments, updates, some of which are live shows. Of course, we do Sunday night Heavy Muscle Radio live now on the channel. We have your user feedback. It's a lot of fun. A great time Sunday night, generally around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that still works out for the United States. West Coast, generally at 8 o'clock. But we do get a lot of the Australians on the other side of the world. So it's a lot of fun. It's a very happening chat room. So again, if you haven't already done so, check it out. Sunday night, Heavy Muscle Radio, now live. Dave, Chris Aceto, and then we have a revolving cast of characters between Lee Priest, between John Romano, and then, we'll usually bring in a special guest as well. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next week.